Where's Duke today?
Who's Duke?
You know what's really good is the Oak Park story.
Yeah, it looks really good. Valerie Soe is really inspiring.
She is. We should invite her to the office sometime.
The low point was after the landlord had declared bankruptcy, and we really thought that we might have to move.
So he decided to fight the lawsuit, and so we're going through a series of, he does a series of legal maneuvers, and eventually he claims bankruptcy, corporate bankruptcy. So he said Oak Park Apartments, that corporation went bankrupt, so you can't get any money off of Oak Park Apartments. And since I'm not personally liable, you can't touch me either, ha ha ha. And we really thought, crap, we really screwed up this community. Like, here is this vibrant community with Macarena dances and, 500 people at parties. We just destroyed this place that was known as Cambodian Village. And we're going, ah.
The story behind the Oak Park story is that it's a documentary about a coalition of tenants in Oakland who are Latino, Cambodian, and other Asian, and also white. So middle class as well as like working class and poor people. And they all lived in a pretty rundown apartment complex in Oakland, and decided to, after trying really hard to sort of work with their landlord and negotiate with him and get him to fix up the building and fix the horrible conditions there, they finally decided they had to sue him because he was not being responsive. So there was, water leaks, there was mold, there were incredible bugs and rodents, and it was just, the conditions were appalling. My co-director and co-producer, Russell Jung, I knew him, I've known Russell for a really long time, since we were both undergraduates in college, which was a long time ago. and so, I knew him way back when we were 20, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, he applied to work at SF State in the same department I work in, and he got the job. And I said, well, Russell, where have you been in all these years? I haven't heard from you, And he said, well, I've been living in this apartment building and organizing these tenants. He lived there for 10 years. He was one of the tenant organizers that lived there for 10 years. So he told me this amazing story about all of these different people coming together and organizing. It was like, whoa, that's kind of a cool story. I think we need to make a movie about that. Realize that you can win these big struggles against giant forces that might seem overwhelming. And to me, that was really the most amazing thing. Is A, that these people who are very, disparate and usually not, they're sort of disenfranchised, right? Poor people, refugees, immigrants, that they were able to get together and find a common cause. On the movie, it was really fun because we got to work with a lot of different like I said, we work with Michael Chin, who's, this famous cinematographer, and he gave us a really good deal because he's a great guy. And Curtis Choi, of course, who directed The Fall of the Eye Hotel, was our sound recordist, which was really, really neat because that was all about tenant rights too, right? So there's sort of like the connection between that struggle and this one. Even though I did a lot of experimental films in the past, they were pretty much still kind of story-driven. Even though they played a lot more with form and so forth. So this is really story-driven. It's all about like what happened. So I had to kind of like rein in a little of my experimental tendencies. But hopefully people will just be really compelled by the story and feel inspired, if I want to use that word. I went to the opening night party for this year's festival last week, and it was really fun because I think I must have seen at least like a half a dozen of my students there. It's sort of like this surrogate motherhood. You have these little chicks that you nurture, and then they go out in the world, and a lot of them are doing really neat stuff. So that's really fun for me.